All right, welcome back to another episode of Investment Realtors Podcast.
Hello, hello.
Go to Realtors Podcast. It is Wednesday, March 8th.
Yep.
With some good news on the beginning topic. Bank of Canada holds interest rate.
Interest rates, eh? That's an interesting topic.
That is a very interesting. I'm sure everyone's going to be talking about it. This is the first time that they've held it in a year.
Yep.
Which is very refreshing, especially the poor people on variables that have pretty much doubled in payments, which is disgusting. But we're going to keep it above board here.
Okay.
We're going to try and, I guess, be impartial. So the central bank, reading an article here from CP24, has decided to hold its key rate at 4.5 based on the assessment of the recent economic data.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they are keeping the door open to potentially maybe further.
So no promises is what you're saying.
Of course.
That's no problem.
So what it tells us here is they said that the recent data showed inflation slowed to 5.9% in January, but the economy posted no growth in the fourth quarter.
Of course.
It says that the Bank of Canada is expecting the inflation rate to fall to around 3% mid-year, which would be amazing for everybody.
It would be amazing if it's true.
If it's true, we're at 5.9 now. Going down 3 would be almost half. It's definitely a good sign in the right direction that they didn't raise the interest rate today.
But other than interest rates, they're not really doing anything to bring down our country's inflation. That's the problem.
Well,
the first two reasons you gave were good.
Yeah,
the third one I disagree with.
Oh, okay, that's where we draw the line. Yeah, it's tough. Like we've said in all of our previous videos, mortgage rates, when all of your paycheck is going to your housing, it doesn't really leave you with money to do anything to kind of build the economy further.
How do you build an economy without disposable income to spend on consumer goods?
Yeah.
That's the whole reason.
And mortgage is a small portion of that when, gas prices are still, up there.
Yeah, they're going up. They were 152 this morning.
Not to mention, the basket of goods at the grocery store. 5 items, it's $100, and you're going there like every other day. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of, at least, let's take the win for what it is.
You're the experts. We'll go with them for this. So we're hoping, in terms of housing market, it's not getting any worse, and it's not going up yet. It's pretty much been, I think it's like hit the bottom.
That's what we think. That's just our opinion from what we've seen. Some properties that are a little overpriced are selling less than list, but we are also seeing some multiple offers, offer dates.
Over asking, we've seen.
Not like once upon a time, 50,
a couple thousand.
A couple thousand, but it's still, you got to bring your best foot forward.
Yeah.
So it'll be curious to see with the spring market just around the corner, if there's going to be a lot of inventory that floods the market that kind of helps with the supply issue, or if it's going to be scarce. I mean, there's no inventory. Everyone you talk to, it doesn't matter what area you're trading in, it's
very dry.
It's scarce.
It's very dry. And the type of buyers, actually, we're seeing different types. We're not seeing those first-time home buyers putting 5% down and just winging it with the interest rate. We're seeing cash.
These people are serious.
They're serious. They got big down payments. They got good income. They show a good T4 notice of assessment, whatever it is. Like, they're showing income and they're buying houses that most people aren't able to buy. Yeah,
the interest rate being at what it is, these buyers that we're seeing in this market, they know what it is, and these guys or girls, they are just time and market. They're ready to go.
They're very smart.
It is what it is.
Wily.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Without any risk, there is no reward. Everybody's risk kind of assessment's different. We base it on each client to an next. I mean, we like to joke. A lot of people we know, Bank of Nova Scotia. What that means is big kind of.
You're gifted. You're gifted your deposit.
120,000 to be gifted, or 130, or anything.
Any gift is good.
Absolutely.
The problem is people who are starting off, they don't. Yeah. They're not able to save the cash they used to be able to save, number one.
No.
People back in the day who were making a good wage, but all the costs of goods were so cheap, you could slowly build up that just cash flow or that cash in your account. Now, I don't know how much you're going to save if what you're spending week to week, month to month is basically what you're earning.
What about the whole joke? If like our generation didn't eat so much avocado toast, so much Starbucks, then you'd be able to buy a house.
But
And I
Panera
mean,
bread would be out of business.
it's true.
I've
It's
never
true.
been once. I don't
No,
know if you've ever
me
been
either.
to Panera. I've
No,
never
we're
been
not
to
into that. We make our sandwich ourselves with nice cold cuts, but that's
a nice focaccia bun.
We should do a video on like how to make a nice sandwich.
Would you guys want to see us
Comment
making
below.
a
Tell
focaccia
us.
sandwich?
So
Fresh cold cuts.
that's how we started with, like, I guess the first portion of the video, just talking about the interest rate. That's great news.
Yeah.
I guess today's video will just be, we could maybe discuss our experiences on some of the deals we've done, or some of like, I guess, good stories / horror stories with our colleagues of why certain houses have been closed. What could like be a deal breaker? I mean,
Well, we could compare, like, in this market that we just passed,
yes,
there was almost no objection to closing a house. If they found a ceiling leak, if they found broken tiles,
Absolutely.
if you promised them a lawnmower, they didn't get a lawn.
Absolutely.
Like, people would close houses this
Yep.
past 2 years, no matter what they found.
Yep, that was the reality of it.
Just
They were
a
going in
reality.
firm. They were going well over asking because of the fear of missing out. Whereas now it's like, whoa, hold the train.
Now it's going to come back.
Now it comes back. We did see towards more of the tail end where appraisals were starting to come back. And what happens is, if you've bought a house for 100,000, and that house really, obviously no house is 100,000.
What are you talking about?
So let's say 100,000, but it's only comes back appraised at 80,000.
Yeah.
Now you're on the hook to get that other 20,000 to come up. Chances are you're not going to get another loan from another bank or any other institute.
Out.
You're maxed out. So now that's where it becomes an issue. So even in this market, places that aren't even selling over asking, that are close to list, we've seen some appraisals coming back where they're like, nope.
Yeah, well, hey,
you overpaid 30,000, 40,000.
It is what it is. If the market's going down, that's the trickiest time to buy. Absolutely. As the market's going down because of appraisals. It's very important stuff. When you're borrowing, let's say most people are borrowing 80% and they're putting 20% down. If you're lucky, you can put 20% down on the house. You're at an 80% borrow rate.
Yeah.
If you don't get appraised,
that's kind of like the max too.
Yeah, but if you're not getting appraised for that, you're not going to be able to close. So
yeah, it's a little tough.
It's tricky. Our advice is for agents, buyers is as the market goes down, don't offer what it's worth today. Try to offer what you think it's going to be worth when you close. Let's say you do a 3-month close. If you're predicting it's going down, let's say $1,000 a week every week, that's 12 weeks away. Just do the math for that. It'll help curb the bets on appraisals.
Well,
help you out a little bit.
Appraisals usually aren't the first month of you purchasing the house, or
It'll
close to closing. Yeah, where they know that they kind of got you.
So you got to do a price close to closing.
Yeah, another thing that some of our clients weren't aware of too, here in Caledon and a little bit north of us, a lot of properties are on well and septic. 90% of the population is requiring a mortgage. So by law, to have that mortgage, you need a potable water source.
They better make sure their agents are doing their due diligence.
So exactly, if a well is coming up with sand, that's not really potable water, and that's where, well, okay, now you're fighting with the seller who's putting in these wells. Wells are, thousands of dollars.
30 grand. We just saw one. The most recent one was a $30,000 well. They found sand, like you said.
Exactly.
Luckily for the buyer's agent, she had put in all the conditions in to protect her client. We're going to make sure the flow rate's good, the potability's good, there's no sand, it's in working order. Blah. If you don't, and you're competing, and you're knocking on wood that, hey, everything's going to be, I turn on the sink and it works. Okay, but did you turn it on for 3 hours?
Yeah.
Did you measure the flow rate?
Yeah.
Did you see any deposits in there? Did you check for there's a lot of things.
Tank,
the pressurized tank.
And that's one of them on that property. And now the septic.
And if you have an older septic that might bleed in, like we've seen a lot of bleeding septics, and where does it bleed? It bleeds into your well.
Yeah.
So if you have if you're doing another thing, don't trust the listing agent to do the septic test.
No, you
don't pump it first.
You should be doing all your due diligence, because, like we always say, seller's agent
They're working for the seller.
Exactly. You're working for your buyer. So whether it's inexperience, whether you're being lazy, you need to protect your buyer.
Yes.
You shouldn't be leaving it up to the seller's agent to do a water test.
Yes.
You should be putting in conditions that protect you for a septic tank.
Yes.
A well test.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that comes back on you as an agent. And yeah, that's great that you have insurance that protects you in the case of these events that are not one-off, but that they do happen. But what does that say to your ability? Obviously, we all make mistakes, but you are paid for a service
Yes.
to protect that client.
Yeah.
So whether if you're being lazy or you just don't know, that's not a good enough reason. Yeah. That's not a good enough excuse.
And if your client's being stubborn, you have to just there comes a time in our job where you actually have to put your foot down.
Yeah.
And I know we're helping sometimes you got to save them from themselves. And say, hey, look, don't even it's a 60, 70-year-old house.
Yep.
You got to do your due diligence as a buyer, and you can't just put in offers willy-nilly on places without checking.
They don't know what they don't know.
Like they don't know what they don't know, right? So we would have to put in all these things for them, explain what they are, and if they're stubborn, we just got to keep teaching.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And then there's other things that are so minor that it's like common courtesy. I mean, with all the snow that we've gotten, if the house is vacant and you're the listing agent and nobody's cleaning the snow, I mean, that falls on you. I would say as the listing agent, the buyer should not be moving into a house that's got 8 feet of snow and they can't get in their driveway.
No, or even showings. How many times we go to showings on a vacant house and not even salt on the walkway?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, that is your responsibility. Whether the house belongs to you or not is irrelevant. You're hired for a service. You are taking care of that property as it's your own, and you're looking out for your seller.
Yes.
So, and I mean, there are some stickler lawyers on the buying side and the selling side that can, the smallest little technicality, and just like that,
you walk away from a contract with almost anything.
Absolutely. And I mean, these are your single biggest investments. So if you are not protecting yourself,
who is?
Exactly.
And if you hire somebody to do it for you, you better make sure that they're doing it. And I mean, at the end of the day, you have to know, interview different agents.
That's what we always say.
We always say it.
Absolutely.
Right?
You shouldn't be doing one. It should be a few, just so you could see. Because not everybody's going to work well with each other. Not everybody is going to do something the same way you would want it to be done. And I mean, anybody could talk a good game and kind of sell water to a fish. That's why you need to interview different people to see who they say they are. Whether you're Googling them, whether you check their social medias, whether it's a referral from another friend, you need to be able to trust that these people are going to look after you the way you want to be looked after.
So you're saying that if I just use the listing agent,
they'll give you back commission, deal? Right? Isn't that how it works?
Oh, okay.
That's a misconception. That's not how it works.
Did we talk about the listing? I think we did.
We've touched on it, but how many times we get like on the listing side where they're like, "Okay, I'll work with you. I don't have an agent because you'll help me out."
Yeah.
The commission is a deal that's negotiated between the seller and the seller's agent. It has nothing to do with the buyer.
Yeah.
So as a buyer, if there was going to be any kind of break in commission, why would you get the break in commission when it's the seller
deals
paying?
With the seller? That's a good question.
It makes no sense, and that's where we try to educate our people, try and explain to them. Because I mean, I get it, especially in the real estate, a lot of stuff I wouldn't say is hidden, but it's not as public knowledge or kind of understood. It's a lot of mumbo jumbo and jargon that's like, sorry, what was that? And that's where we try to explain, and we're pretty thorough in our paperwork. We always make sure that people are understanding how it works.
I mean, imagine buying, just for an example to go back, you're using the listing agent.
Yeah.
Okay, he's working for the seller. He's not really here to help you as a buyer.
Yeah, but I don't want to call my cousin because then I've and then my friend's an agent too. And
okay, so you're using this listing agent.
Yeah, because you could help me out.
You think he's going to help you out.
Yeah,
but it's an old house with a well and a septic.
It's okay.
And he doesn't mention, you should probably put in a well test, or you should probably put in a septic flush.
But
he's just doing the paperwork for you. So he says,
being a little dishonest.
Well, as the selling agent, selling agents will do what it takes to sell their house.
Exactly.
Whether it's dishonest or they say, well, what?
Not us. We're not dishonest.
But what clauses do you guys want to put in? Buyers. And if the buyer doesn't know about well set, he goes, yeah, it's a well test. Like, it looks good. Do you want to put in a clause? And it's like the agent's asking you, and you don't know. You're going to say, well, should I? And he's going to say, well, you could do it if you want. And the buyer's going to say, well, would it help us get this house?
Exactly.
And he's going to say, no, it's not going to help you.
Exactly.
Because he's not there to help you as the buyer. He's there to help his seller. So he's going to say, it'll probably hurt your chances if there's more than one offer. Are you sure you want to put a well test? Are you sure you want to put a septic test? Are you sure you want to do an inspection?
Exactly.
Or do you want this house? So there's a little, there's some perceptions that could go wrong when you're using the listing agent.
That's why personally, whenever we've ran into that, we've always referred on the buying side to an agent in our office and
Somebody
kind of kept it
separate,
impartial, even though we can do it, because at the end of the day, we're not here to be dishonest to anyone. Obviously, our responsibility belongs to our seller. So that is our best way to be impartial. So that way everybody is fairly represented and getting the fair treatment. I mean, another side of that we hear agents, there's a difference between a client and a customer, like we've explained before. So most of the time, the listing agents do customer service, where they're pretty much just doing paperwork for you. They're not representing you, and that's most of the time what happens.
Clients don't know. They don't know what that means.
They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to get a deal. Meanwhile, you just got hosed because you didn't want to use your friend, your cousin, 10 other realtors somebody you knew and trust, which we never understood why you wouldn't want to use somebody who obviously is going to look out for your best interest, but people are funny.
And you know what? When they use that seller's agent and things go wrong,
then they come crying, oh, what, can you look at this?
Or even worse, if you're never going to get a referral. Like, what's the point of this business? This business is to do good job for people, help people out, and make them provide a service so well that not only do they use you again, but they tell all their friends to use you. Longevity. So if you're doing a one and done just to get a deal done, not only are you probably going to lose your seller, right? Because they're going to move away, but you don't even have a chance to keep that buyer and do a good job for that buyer because you're not being fair and you're not being whatever it is to kind of gain their trust and make sure you do a good job. You don't care.
Like the old saying we know, behind every deal, there's three more.
There's three faces behind every deal.
I mean, something like that, you put aside the pride, the ego, the money. You have to treat everybody how you would want to be treated. And that's just the short of it. That's not us trying to BS it or
that's an old folks tale. That's a fairy tale line. Right?
It is. It really is. I mean, it's tough, man. At the end of the day, be honest. Be upfront with people. People that don't know, shame on them, but also shame on you if you're taking advantage because you should be explaining what they don't know. Because some people just really don't know and are ignorant, and that's not an excuse. But that's
how many people have we gone through, because we sit down, we go through all the paperwork. When we bring up the client versus customer, they have no idea what we're talking about.
Two wrongs don't make a right. We always say it.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? So if we're not explaining it, if people don't, how many times have we had people say, we ask them, oh, have you signed any paperwork? It's like, no. And then we're like, are you sure? And they're like, well, we have this. And they send us over the full like you signed a 1 year paperwork.
A 1 year buyer representation, which is technically not like it's kind of frowned upon. But they said
unless they explain it.
But I didn't know. I just wanted that one property. Well, ignorance isn't bliss, and you can't. And there's a lot of people, the same way that there's a lot of bad agents, there's a lot of bad consumers that know the name of the game. They do this all the time. They waste people's time, and they go, I didn't know what I was signing.
Yeah, but you can play ignorance only so many times.
It only takes one time to make you realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been doing this whole time.
And we know agents that we won't mention, but they've gone after buyers and stuff who
rightfully so
renege on their contracts with lawyers.
Yeah, rightfully so, because there's a
lot of responsibility.
The same way when an agent is dishonest and a buyer goes after them, when a buyer is dishonest and has wasted your months of your time
driving
this, that, and the other, you better believe that they're going to be on the hook for a commission owed, because this is how we make our money. This is our livelihood. This isn't a game.
Yeah.
Well, some people think we're just glorified paper pushers.
Yeah, but those people
they're not nice.
You can't change the minds of those people.
No.
You just got to do your job, do it well. And
those are the same people that when they get screwed over, they're like, oh, but like, why me? What happened? Well, you were kind of dishonest with 10 different agents you talked to, and then you got the one that played your game.
Yeah. No,
it's tough.
Well, we get calls from people who only want to use listing agents, and
it's funny.
We do our best. Yeah, it's
funny. We always have the same kind of conversation with them, and kind of always I would say, fix their misconception of, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
and then
we
they're
do.
like, oh, well, my other agent gave me back money. No, they didn't. You got bamboozled.
You probably were given back $2,000, but you overpaid $20,000 for the house.
But that's good because you were trying to save a penny and you spent $1. That's
because they don't
mind-
know. It's like, why?
Yeah.
It never understood where you're going to overspend for a house just because he's promising you commission back. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
People need to learn the hard way sometimes.
Unfortunately,
they also need to be taught.
It is what it is.
And slowly, steady, you know, our job is to educate too.
Yeah, that's why we started this. We have fun just bantering and explaining how things work. I mean, we try and touch on relevant topics like the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
And then we always throw in kind of our
personal stories.
Yeah, personal stories, our mumbo jumbo, all of our fun stuff. Because, I mean, hey, we enjoy doing it.
We had to learn it the hard way, so maybe you don't have to.
Yeah. Like we said, guys, we're always around.
Yep.
Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what kind of topics you want us to talk about.
Yep.
Are these videos too long? Are these videos too short?
Yeah.
Do you want to see more animal content? Do you want to see
Guests?
a day in the life of where it's like a POV?
POV of our life?
Yeah, yeah.
We do guests. We haven't done guests yet.
I know. Yeah, we have to definitely do guests. Get some guests. And we'll do like an I Spy on this video. Comment down below what's different about this video.
If you get, first person to find out what's different about this video,
What do they get?
they go into a draw,
Okay.
and then we got to find a prize.
Okay.
So we put him in a draw first, then we
Okay.
come up with the prize later.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like reverse engineered.
It will be, it'll be an incentive to actually come up with a prize.
That's
to
fair.
Put a draw together.
That's